A few years ago, I had to go into hospital, and while I was there, they found that I've got AF, and that stands for atrial fibrillation. What happens with atrial fibrillation is your heart fires irregularly. Makes you feel tired, hot, sweaty. You can't walk very far without getting out of breath. Going upstairs is a killer. You just feel terrible. So when YHE Tech sent the watch to me, I was very curious as to how it works. In the box, you get this charger. It's quite a tight fit actually. There's no clip there. You just push it in and it's a friction fit, but it works, it's fine. Charges very fast. And you also get this little bracelet, a paper bracelet to measure the size of your wrist, because it is important that you get the tightness of this on your wrist correct. If you want accurate results, you must wear the watch in the right place and at the right tension. There are numbers on the back of the strap, and there are also numbers on the measurement tool, so they should coincide and you know exactly where to place it and how tight to pull the strap. It's a good looking watch with a stainless steel body and a nice clear display. The watch displays your results instantly on the screen, and later on, if you go to the phone app, it'll display all of your measurements over the past week or whatever you want, so you can get a really detailed view of what's going on. First of all, before I go through the apps, I do need to say that this is actually a watch, and it does tell you the time, and it synchronizes with your phone, so it never gives you the wrong time. In order to see the apps on your smartwatch, you press the side button once, gives you the time, and then you press it again and it gives you the apps. The first app you see is BP, which is blood pressure. Basically, you just then press start on the app and the cuff on the back of the watch inflates and starts to squeeze your wrist, rather like a cuff monitor on your arm. It's important that you've got the watch at the right place, because you should have a gap between your wrist and the watch of 2 fingers, and you should also make sure it's reasonably tight. Then you have to sit very still and try and get your hand at a position that's level with your heart. Once you do that, you press start and off it goes. It starts squeezing, and after it's finished, it gives a little pip sound and it deflates, thank goodness, because it's quite tight, and then you get your readout. The readouts that you take on your watch can then be transferred to your phone, which stores all of them so you can see trends. You have to be sure that you've got the right tightness, the right position, and all the conditions are right to get a very accurate reading. The second app on the smartwatch is an SpO2 meter, and that measures the amount of oxygen in your blood, so that's quite important if you have a heart problem. So if I go to that and press SpO2, it's measuring. I'm going to use this to compare, and I found that they run pretty much in line with each other. Takes a little while, but mine's come up with 98% on the watch, and on the meter it's come up with 98 as well. The third app is the one that measures your heart rate. It does it one of 2 ways. You can either have it monitoring all the time every 10 minutes, so you get a graph throughout the day, or you can just monitor it when you switch it on. Now the thing is for people with AF, it's very important to monitor it through the day, because you want to look for those spikes that can happen. So basically I leave mine going and it measures my heart rate every 10 minutes, and then I send the data to my phone, and the app then shows me if there have been any spikes in my heart rate. Linked to the heart rate app is a heart rate variation app, an HRV it's called on here, and it measures the variations in your heartbeats. Now technically, the better your heart is, then there's a 45-degree line, and the spots should appear roughly around that line in a long sort of streak, but basically quite close together. Now for someone with AF like me, the dots, as you can see on this graph, are quite scattered, and that shows that my heart rate variation is quite wide, and that's one of the aspects of having atrial fibrillation. So for those people who want to monitor their heart on this watch, we've got the following apps. The blood pressure, of course, the SpO2, the oxygen levels, it's just gone off because it's saving battery for me, heart rate, and finally heart rate variation. They will monitor heart health, and you'll get a percentage as well on the phone, on the app. Now there are other apps here. There's an alarm, a calorie thing that works out how many calories you've burned. during the day, a sleep monitor, which is quite amazing. Now that thing tells you whether you've had deep sleep or light sleep and how many hours you slept for, and it's really good. It does give you a percentage as to how well you've slept that night. You've even got a weather app on here. It'll tell you what the weather's doing, which is quite nice. And one I haven't shown you yet, which I'm going to show you now, and that one's called a workout. It's a blooming awful day, but in the cause of science, I'm going out for a bit of exercise. Just put it on my watch and off we go. Well, I've made it and I've missed the post. So after that strenuous walk, it's telling me I did 0.18 of a mile. I took 400 steps. I used up 11 calories. That's a quarter biscuit more. And I was out for 4 minutes and 40 seconds. I think that might be a record. The app is also telling me that my heart rate was 88 beats per minute when I got home. Last night I slept for 7 hours and 19 minutes. I burnt 639 calories so far. The workout was for 1.18 miles, and today, so far, I've done 925 steps. So to sum up, this is a good looking watch made of stainless steel. It's got a fairly good battery life of about 2 to 3 days, but in all fairness, I am using it medium to heavy because I'm taking a heart rate meter reading every 10 minutes all day and night. So that's quite heavy use. The thing is you want the watch to be small, but inside it needs a battery, and that battery has a lot of work to do. It's got to pump up the wristband behind to take blood pressure. It's got the light on the front and all the activities it gets up to. So it needs power, but it also needs to be small. So in all fairness, it's a balancing act between how much battery life do you want and how big do you want the watch to be. So 2 to 3 days is okay. The blood pressure app is a very useful one to have, and it's a big feature of this watch because it has that band on the back that expands and squeezes your wrist to take the measurement. As far as accuracy goes, it's a little bit under, in my case, my cuff that I wear on my arm higher up. Now, the thing is with these measurements is it might be to do with the width of my wrist, it might be to do with where I wear it, but the thing is it is consistent, and that's the one thing I have noticed is actually it seems to be more consistent than the one I put on the top of my arm. In fact, the measurements remain fairly even, and when I've checked it with my cuff, my proper cuff, the measurements are also very even, but they look different, slightly different. As I say, that could be the shape of my wrist, the size of my wrist, I don't know, but it's consistent. Now, there was one day, luckily, where my pressure actually did rise and the watch did catch that. I then went to the cuff and found it was a little bit high. So the thing is to watch the trends. I think that's probably more important than the actual reading itself. So in other words, just watch what your blood pressure is doing, see the trends, and if you can spot somewhere where it's going high, then you can see something might be affecting your blood pressure or something's happened. So it's a good monitor to have on your wrist, and it's very convenient to use. There's no doubt about that. The heart rate readings, the SpO2 and the HRV readings are deadly accurate, and I think they match up really well with medical grade equipment. I get very accurate results. I like the sleep app a lot because it's telling me I'm sleeping really well, and it tracks deep sleep and light sleep, and it gives you a percentage of quality of sleep. I quite like that, and it does track whether you've been awake during the night or whatever, and I didn't find any problems with that whatsoever. The calorie app is really useful for people with heart problems because obviously you want to lose weight if you can and keep an eye on that. So it does track your exercise and how many calories you've burnt, and it adds it all up for you, and it lets you know how many calories you've burnt in each day. There is also an alarm app on the watch, which is quite handy. The activity app is a little bit limited in that it's only got 3 activities. It's got walking, running indoors, and running outdoors. The watch itself isn't waterproof, so you can't take it swimming, and you have to remember to take it off before you get in the shower. The last app I'm going to talk about is one that's linked to the workout app, I think. It's a weather app. So it'll tell you what the weather's going to be like and whether you're going to be running or walking outside or running indoors or walking indoors, up and downstairs, whatever. But there is a weather app, and that's attached to your phone via Bluetooth, so it gets it from wherever it gets it, but it's okay, it's fine. So to finish, I think it's a really useful tool to have on your wrist to monitor your heart. So it's aimed at people like me who need to monitor what's going on with the heart. For that, I think it's really, really good, because you will spot anything that changes very quickly. I think the HRV app in particular, it will spot anything to do with AF dead easy, because it showed up on mine within a day. I saw it straight away, and there was no question that something was going on there. Of course, I know about it, but it does the job of monitoring. I think it's an excellent watch. It works well. It's very accurate in some cases and pretty accurate in others, but the thing is, it does give you an overall pattern of what's going on, and that's the main thing. Hope to see you next time. Cheers for now.